Hey Matrix, welcome to the next video in the Maths Paper 2 playlist. Today I'm covering question 2 of the November 2020 past paper. If you don't have the paper, there's a link in the description down below where you can download the paper and the memo, and then we can continue with the video. Let's get started with question 2. So question 2 is still dealing with data handling. Okay, so question 2 is looking at the number of aircrafts landing at King Shaka International Airport and Port Elizabeth Airport over a period from April 2017 to March 2018. Okay, then they give you this bar chart over here. Okay, if it's not too clear, there is bars running next to the black bars over here in a light grey, which indicate then the Port Elizabeth numbers of aircrafts landing. Okay, so let's have a look. 2.1 says the number of aircrafts landing at Port Elizabeth airports exceeds the number of aircrafts landing at King Shaka International Airport during some months of a given period. During which months is there the difference is greater? Okay, so we're observing from the graph. We have to find where the largest difference is. So I think just to make life easier, I'll just quickly sort out these over here. So this one's running there. This one is running over here. Okay, then this one goes from there to there more or less. Over there, can't even draw straight with the ruler. There. Okay, so these lines that are drawing are indicating my landings at the Port Elizabeth airport. Okay, just to make it slightly clearer for you guys to see. Over there, and I'll put a dot there. Okay, so we've got to find the month which has the greater difference. Okay, so now if you look at all these months over here, the difference between them is not that great, and over here as well, it's more or less the same. Remember, we're looking for the difference between where the Port Elizabeth one is greater, so we can't take that one into account. So we can see here that it's in the month of July where Port Elizabeth had more landings than King Shaka. Okay, so we can then say for 2.1 it would be July. Okay, now the number of aircrafts landed at King Shaka International Airport during the months are, okay, and then they give you a list of numbers at the bottom here. Okay, so a good idea is to rewrite these in ascending or descending order. It could possibly help out later on. Okay, but now 2.2 says calculate the mean for the data set. Okay, so remember that the mean means the average. Okay, so we have to take the average of these points over here. So if you look at the formula for your average, it's normally represented by an X bar. It says the sum of all my variables. In this case, we're going to sum up everything in this block, and then we're going to divide it by the number of variables that we have. Okay, so that is seeing how many variables we have and then dividing it by the total. So if you sum up everything here on your calculator, you should get to a total of 26941. Okay, and then we can see that there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, there's 12 data points. Okay, so dividing it by 12 will then give me a total of 2245.08 landings. Okay, so that then becomes my mean for the number of landings at King Shaka. Okay, now 2.3 says calculate the standard deviation for the number of aircrafts landing in King Shaka International Airport for a given period of time. Okay, the easiest way to go about doing this is using your calculator. Okay, so you go mode, you go stats, so 3, and then you click on 1 because we've only got one lot of data points. So by putting in all your data points into here, okay, you can see you'll put in all 12, and then what you do is you click clear. Okay, then what you would do is you would go shift 1 to go to stats, and then you'll go to your variables over here, so var 4, and then we want our standard deviation, which is given by this funny little symbol here and X. Okay, so you would then click 3, and it then would give you your standard deviation. Okay, so putting in all those numbers, you should get to a standard deviation, okay, of roughly 86.30. Okay, if you wanted to know how the calculator does it, this is how the formula that it uses. It says it takes every value it minuses x bar, okay, which is your mean, and then squares it, and you sum up all of those and you divide it by n, and then you square root the whole thing. Okay, so that's how your calculator calculates it. Now, moving on to question 2.4, says determine the number of months in which the number of aircrafts landing at King Shark International Airport were within 1 standard deviation of the mean. Okay, so what does this mean to be within 1 standard deviation? Okay, so if we go back to the definition of standard deviation tells us how far the data points are from the mean. Okay, so I've drawn a little graph here as representation. So this is if we have a perfect distribution. Okay, it's not always going to look like this, but what it says is in the middle here, at the highest point, we'll have our mean or our average. And now we want to look at 1 standard deviation. So standard deviation means if we're sitting a distance of 86.3 away from the mean, both to the right and to the left. Okay, so then we end up in this region over here. Okay, and that gives me an interval. Okay, so we could plot this on an XY axis where we have my standard deviations on the x-axis and the numbers on the y, the amounts. Okay, so we can then create an interval from the first standard deviation to the left of the mean and to the right of the mean. Okay, so this is where writing out your numbers in their order comes into play. Okay, so first of all, we'd have to work out the interval for 1 standard deviation. So we know that the standard deviation is that amount. Okay, so 1 standard deviation would mean taking your mean, adding 86.3. 2 standard deviations would mean taking the mean value and adding 2 times the standard deviations value of here. Okay, so this is then going to be 2245.80 minus 86.3 and the one to the right. Okay, so this would be to the left, and to the right would be just plus, so 2245.80 plus 86.3. Okay, and that should give you an interval of 2158.78 and then 2331.38. Now, with standard deviation, you'll find that majority of your data set will sit within the first standard deviation. Okay, so now that we have our interval, we just have to look through our numbers and see how many months fall within this domain. Okay, so we can see that 2018 is less than that, so we're not going to include that, but 2175 is greater, so we're going to start counting from here. Okay, we're going to go all the way along. We can see this is all still less than 2331. Okay, up until we get to the point of 2334. Okay, so this is greater than my top value over here. Okay, so we're going to stop over here. Now we just add up the months. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You should get to, have I missed a number? It's possible that I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have missed a number, so there should be a number over here that is 2263, and your total will be 9 months. Okay, now looking at 2.5. 2.5 says which one of the following statements are correct. Okay, so the first one says during December and January there were more landings at the Port Elizabeth Airport than the King Shark International Airport. Okay, well if we look here, were there more landings at Port Elizabeth Airport? Let's have a look. During December and Jan, we can see no. Okay, so from our data here, no, that's not true. So we're not going to take A. B then says there was a greater variance in the number of aircraft landings for King Shark International Airport than Port Elizabeth Airport. Okay, so if we look at all our data points over here, variance talks about the distribution of your data points, how far they separated from each other. Okay, so the spread, it's a better way of calling it. Can you see that for King Shark, most of my data points sits between 2,500 and 2,000. Okay, so they're in a small band there. Whereas the Port Elizabeth range from, let's say, up here, so halfway between 2,500 and 3,000, and it comes all the way into the band between 1,500 and 2,000. So is this following statement true? We can see it's not true, okay, because the variance for King Sharko is not greater than the variance for PE. Okay, now if we look at the last one, it says the standard deviation for the number of landings in Port Elizabeth Airport will be higher than the standard deviation of the number of landings in King Sharko. Okay, yes, we can see that that is true. Why? Because once again, all the points for King Sharko are within this single band over here, where with Port Elizabeth we sitting between this band and that band over there. So you can see the distances from their means, okay, will be a lot greater than the King Sharko airport landings. Okay, so your answer here is then C. Okay, and that's how we go about doing this question. If you found today's video helpful, then please leave a thumbs up on the video. It does help a lot. If you have any questions regarding this question, please leave them in the comment section down below and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Please go check out the channel as well for other maths videos and chemistry and physics videos. And remember, it's never too late to have an OIC moment.